All right, let's talk about it. We're all told that taking humans out of the driver's seat is the future, right? Technology is supposed to solve for human error. But what if it just swaps one kind of human error for another? Maybe one that's even harder to spot. So let's dive right in with the one number that's driving this entire massive multi-billion-dollar race for self-driving cars. And that number is 94%.
Yeah, 94%. That is the insane number of crashes that are blamed on us. You know, our mistakes, our texting, our bad calls on the road. This is the whole reason, the entire argument, for handing the keys over to a computer.
And if you look at this timeline, it's pretty sobering. I mean, despite everything we've thrown at this problem, seatbelts, airbags, automatic braking, the number of people who die on our roads is just stubbornly high. Yeah, there was a little dip for a while, but now we're right back to where we were decades ago. The bottom line is human error is still a huge, huge problem. Okay, but here's the twist. What happens when the solution creates a totally new kind of problem? And that's exactly what went down recently in San Francisco. It was chaos. So let's set the scene here. It's December. You've got a whole fleet of Waymo's robotaxis, you know, the cars that are supposed to be the future, and suddenly they all just go down. And I'm not talking about one car glitching out. No, the entire network just failed. Just like that, no warning, the cars just stopped, dead in their tracks, right in the middle of busy streets. I mean, all that fancy AI, all those complex sensors, everything that was supposed to make them smarter than us, it just froze. They had no idea what to do.
And you can imagine what happened next, right? It wasn't just a couple of cars pulled over to the side. No way. We're talking total gridlock. Major intersections completely clogged. It created absolute chaos and really showed us a brand new kind of failure. This wasn't a crash, this was a total system meltdown.
So, the big question is, what the heck went wrong? Well, the investigation found it wasn't just some random computer glitch. It actually points to a new, kind of hidden type of human error. See, the human backup system failed. And this really gets to a critical point. Do you find a person to blame, or do you actually learn from the failure of the system? Because really, you can't do both.
See, this whole system depends on people they call remote personnel. Think of them like a human safety net. They're operators who are supposed to be able to take over and guide a car remotely if it gets confused. But during that blackout in San Francisco, that safety net just completely broke.
And this is where it gets really concerning. Look at this. There's almost no oversight. We're swapping out a driver we can see behind the wheel for what? A remote operator who could be on the other side of the planet dealing with internet lag? Someone with very little training? They might not even have a driver's license. And get this, a single operator could be responsible for hundreds of these vehicles. And the craziest part, there are currently zero federal regulations for any of it.
Kathy Chase from Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety, she doesn't mince words. She says this is a huge regulatory blind spot. You know, NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, their whole job is to keep our roads safe. But right now, this incredibly important piece of the puzzle is just operating in a total gray area. So yeah, that whole mess in San Francisco, it perfectly shines a light on this giant fight that's brewing in Washington, D.C. It's a battle over who gets to write the rules of the road for our self-driving future and how soon they get written. And this really breaks down into two main camps. On one side, you've got the safety advocates. They're saying, whoa, hold on, we need specific, tough federal rules right now, especially for these remote operators. But then on the other side, you have legislators. They're pushing for one big national law because they're terrified of having like 35 different state laws. They say a patchwork like that would just kill innovation. And Representative Bob Latta, he's one of the guys behind the Self-Drive Act, and he puts it pretty clearly. He says, imagine your self-driving car tells you, hey, you need to take over now, just because you're about to cross from one state into another. He's arguing that it's just not workable. Without one federal law, that whole dream of just kicking back while your car drives you across the country, it just completely falls apart.
But here's the thing. While all this debate is happening in Washington, the industry is not sitting around waiting. Not at all. They are placing massive billion-dollar bets on this autonomous future, and they are moving full steam ahead.
And if you want proof of that momentum, look no further. A huge partnership was just announced between two absolute giants, Uber and Rivian. They're teaming up, and they plan to kick the robotaxi revolution into high gear. And the scale of this thing is just wow.
We're talking 10,000 fully autonomous cars hitting the streets in just a few years, starting in San Francisco and Miami, backed by more than $1 billion from Uber. And that's just the start. They plan to be in 25 cities by 2031, with maybe tens of thousands more cars after that. So yeah, the future is coming, whether we're ready for it or not.
And this really brings us right back to the central challenge, doesn't it? The technology is just racing ahead, but the rulebook is still being written. Which leaves us with this one giant question. Are we actually building something that solves that 94% human error problem? Or are we just trading it in for a whole new set of problems we haven't even thought of yet?